like to introduce what you have on your table. So everybody should have a board. I've done A4, probably for my learners grade 7 plus. I would go A3, but you can also do A4, it's up to you. I just like things a little bit bigger. You should also have some examples of drawing techniques, so some photo copies that look like that. And you've got some plain white paper that we're going to look at exploring the object beforehand. Okay, so Sika Setu insists on putting white oil pastel, covering the card in white oil pastel, and then using acrylic drawing ink on top of it, because that's what works for him. But I thought it's not easy for all schools to get hold of acrylic drawing ink. It's not easy for all schools to get hold of enough white oil pastel. So I started experimenting, and I looked at all sorts of different ways of how can we do this that the schools can actually work with it easily. And the easiest way is actually with a wax candle. This was the thing that worked the best. Not wax crayons. In fact, for me, not even the oil pastel, but the normal kitchen wax candle. And black powder paint, which I've actually mixed on your table. So if you all find your wax candle and your powder paint. And then into the powder paint, I put a couple of drops of sunlight soap, sunlight liquid. Now what that seems to do is it seems to get the paint to bind to the wax. So you put a layer of wax on your card, then the powder paint with a couple of drops of sunlight liquid, and then you paint that on. So the liquid seems to bind it to the wax, and it also helps when you scratch so that it doesn't crackle off. And that's it. It really became one of the easiest methods to use. You will also find on your table some normal sandpaper, and this is a little bit of an experiment. I actually saw it in one of my videos. You can't really control it, but if you scratch into the scraper board with the sandpaper, you get these lovely kind of really organic scratchy marks. So you might want to try that as well. And then everybody should have a stick, a society stick like that. So having looked at numerous different videos, you can get all sorts of special pens and things to scratch with them. You can use razor blades, and you can use pins, and you can use really expensive numbers. I actually found that this can do most of the things that everything else can do. You just need a little bit more patience. So on the one end it's pointy, and on the other end it is flat. So you can get the thicker lines and you can get the more pointy lines. Everybody else should have a pencil and a brush. I've put different size brushes just because I didn't have a big one for everybody. So you might want to share the big ones or grab a big one. Margie, maybe you want to give out more of those bigger ones. The children can certainly use these brushes. It's just a little bit easier to use the bigger ones and a little bit quicker if you've got bigger brushes. Okay, what I've also done is I've given everybody a piece of cloth. And the idea is that if you place the cloth in an interesting way, and you take your still life object and you place it on the cloth, you can see all sorts of interesting folds and interesting tones of darks and lights coming, and it gives it a setting. So instead of this cup kind of floating in mid-air, unless you want it to be floating in mid-air, you give it a kind of a setting so you can imagine that it's on a tablecloth or something.